We're going to hopscotch a lot of areas, not necessarily in continuous order. 4 men were arrested in Dallas today by an FBI anti-terrorist team. The arrest of the 4 brothers allegedly tied to an alleged terror financing scheme by the group Hamas. Know anything about it?
Well, I've seen reports on it, and it happens almost every day. Somewhere across this globe, a group of people, a cell, is being arrested and being interrogated, and we're connecting the dots. You've read about this new commission that's just been appointed to figure out what happened on September 11th. They're trying to connect the dots after it's over. We're trying to connect the dots before and see if we can't find a roadmap as to what people are doing and how they're doing it, so that we can, in fact, help prevent these kinds of terrible terrorist acts.
And they've got the edge because they know what they're going to do today, and you
exactly.
don't.
And they can attack at any time, in any place, using any technique, and it's impossible to defend at every time, in every place.
Why'd you go to Qatar?
We have a lot of troops there, and I had a wonderful opportunity to meet with, hundreds of young men and women who have voluntarily said that they're going to serve their country, and that's an exciting thing to do that. And I was pleased to do that. The country of Qatar, I met with the foreign minister, and we signed a letter of understanding, letter of agreement as to our relationship, and had a wonderful visit with the troops. And
how important is Qatar?
Well, they're all links in a chain, and it's important. All of these countries, these 90 nations across the world that are cooperating with us, are important. Each one is important because each one brings a scrap of information. Some person last year found in a house in Afghanistan, found a piece of information that stopped 3 terrorist acts from happening in Singapore 10, 12, 15 days later. I mean, this is truly a global problem, so each country is important.
How many stops don't we learn about?
Oh my goodness, there are any number of things. Think of the number of people that aren't being recruited because of the pressure that's being put on. Think of the number of dollars that aren't being fed into the network. Think of the number of bank accounts that were frozen. Think of the scraps of information from people who were arrested and interrogated. We get information every day from the detainees that we've arrested.
Have we learned a lot? Yeah, speaking of that, have we learned a lot about radicals? Why someone puts a bomb on his chest and blows himself up? Mm-hmm. Why would they do that? Do we learn from talking to others that we capture?
Sure. We learn. What's going on in the world, there's a lot of money going into these so-called madrasa schools that they aren't training people in mathematics or languages or sciences or whatever, humanities. They're training people to kill. They're training people to go out and kill innocent men, women, and children. And we need to see that those schools are closed down, and we need to see that those schools are provided teaching the right things so that people can live a constructive life in this world.
You have any hope, any more optimism in the Middle East? We've had less lately, those bombings. Mm-hmm. They sporadically occur. They used to be more regular.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no question. Saddam Hussein offers a $25,000 reward to any family whose child is a suicide bomber. There's a wonderful contribution to the world.
That's a fact.
Imagine. That's a fact. Think of that. It's just terrible.
If a son, if a family goes out and kills himself,
the family's son or daughter goes out and blows up a shopping mall or a pizza parlor, they get $25,000 from Saddam Hussein. Now, but what do we do about that? Well, we simply have to work the problem, just like we work the problem as firefighters. We work the problem as policemen. We have to go out and do everything we can to create a world where people aren't going to be doing that.
How ready are we militarily for action?
If
I mean, it's hypothetical, given the go.
Sure, given the go, we go.
Ready to go.
No, we're flowing forces now. The only reason that Saddam Hussein's allowing inspectors back in Iraq is because of the pressure of a threat of military force being used against him. The Congress's action was helpful, the action by the United Nations, and their recognition. I mean, heck, they went for years with refusing the inspectors to be in there. Now they're allowing them in.
But how ready are we to if the man says go?
The reality is that in a perfect world, you'd say, well, there are things you'd still do. And we are still doing things because it's important that the Iraqis understand that they need to respond to the UN resolution. Every day that goes by, obviously, our capability to move faster and somewhat better improves. But if the Iraqis did something untoward today, we're capable of beginning and doing what we need to do if the president said do it.
Morale is high?
Excellent. Just excellent.
Think we'll need a draft?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No, I mean, I was one of the sponsors of the Volunteer Army back in the 1960s, and I was a congressman, and what we were doing in those days was using force, conscription, to bring people into the military so we could pay them 50, 60% of the civilian manpower market wage, whatever was fair.